Welcome to the Automation World Get Your Questions Answered podcast, where we connect with industry experts to get the answers you need about industrial automation technologies. I'm David Greenfield, Director of Content for Automation World, and the question we'll be answering in this episode is, why choose the cloud for engineering and simulation software? And joining me to answer this question is Chris Radabaugh with Emerson Automation Solutions. So thanks for joining me today, Chris.
Great to be here, David. Thanks for having me.
So, Chris, one of the big issues facing industrial companies today is how to effectively train operators, whenever engineering changes are made to production systems. And I know that this is a major area of focus for Emerson's DeltaV simulation cloud. So, can you tell our listeners about this technology and how it's used to get operators up to speed with such changes before they're rolled out to production?
Absolutely. Effective training of operators is a key concern because, as we all know, operators control production processes and heavily influence the finished products. These processes are complex and require training specific to achieve expected outcomes. So, the need to train on a plant's process is absolutely critical. However, training on production systems is very risky and in most cases not even possible. I liken it to perhaps a pilot trainee in an airline flight simulator. Pilots need a safe environment to test out and master the latest in capabilities. They do so in flight simulators. Same deal with plant operators. They need a safe space to understand production processes, equipment, and things like that away from the plant. As a result, simulation systems are a key strategy to make changes safely and to train personnel. And here's where DeltaV Simulation Cloud is extremely valuable. An offline, globally accessible, 24/7 by 365 solution for DeltaV Simulate and Simulate with Mimic. It's really that safe space to make changes and train your teams.
So, what industries are currently using DeltaV Simulation Cloud?
Great question. And as it turns out, all industries that are served by DeltaV Simulate and Simulate with Mimic are candidates for usage. So this includes industries like oil and gas, pharmaceutical, specialty chem, and so forth. All modules and function blocks that are available in the on-premise DeltaV solution are available on DeltaV Simulation Cloud. So whether you're modifying a control module, say if it was connected to a valve in your continuous process, or an equipment module to organize and execute a segment of your batch promise for either specialty chem or pharma, respectively, DeltaV Simulation Cloud has you covered.
So, can you give us some examples of the typical uses of DeltaV Simulation Cloud in these industries?
Sure. In the pharmaceutical industry, it's not uncommon to have tight project to production schedules to ensure timely release of their products. So verifying configuration and training operators is somewhat of an unseen aspect of a successful product release. And if you have any delays, of course, this can impact the schedule. The recent COVID pandemic is an example of how the public at large can look to the release of pharmaceutical products to address an urgent need, as we know. DeltaV Simulation Cloud is the right choice for such needs. As I mentioned, it's a scalable, flexible, always-on environment to change configurations and train as needed. In oil and gas, consistency of configurations really help drive efficient deployment and maintenance of resources. And the accompanying safety system is a critical part of that safe, efficient work environment. This solution is the right choice for these needs as well. DeltaV Simulation Cloud can be used to modify configurations, act as a standards library that can be used as a reference for individual production plants. And we're very excited to say that the soon-to-be released SIS support will allow for these companies to modify their virtual SIS or that safety instrumented system, as it's called, in that same offline secure environment.
So, Chris, I just wanted to touch on this following your mention of COVID and the response there. Are there any other reasons why DeltaV Simulation Cloud could be considered as part of a COVID response or maybe even a prevention strategy?
Yes, David, there definitely are. So, as we know, one of the recommended COVID response or prevention strategies um, that is in place is the social distancing and some of the lockdown measures intended to control or stop the spread of COVID. So, in today's work environment, as a result, physical space for training and collaboration is seeing a definite shift from physical office environments to virtual online platforms. DeltaV Simulation Cloud is a perfect strategy when considering those virtual teams or the need to have that remote access. So let Emerson manage the system in our data centers, and you and your team can safely collaborate online, all through a standard web browser. In addition, COVID has strained supply chains and impacted hardware schedules, sometimes taking a year or more lead time to obtain that necessary equipment to run your simulation or training. With DeltaV Simulation Cloud, there is no physical footprint and no hardware shipping delays to be considered with. DeltaV Simulation Cloud allows you to skip that line and begin your work without that added delay. So, really, whether you're dealing with the direct effects or the indirect side effects, Emerson's hosted solution is the solution of choice.
So we're seeing more and more automation technologies, of course, moving to the cloud, but simulation technologies have typically been installed more on premises. So can you explain how DeltaV Simulation Cloud works effectively as a cloud-based simulation technology and, what factors an end user should consider that could influence their decision to choose a cloud-based simulation technology versus an on-premises installation?
Traditionally, simulation and engineering systems were installed on premise, where users local to that system could use it in an office environment. In that scenario, plant managers and training personnel, they were required to manage access and maintain the hardware and software, which sometimes may divert focus from the business objectives of the company. With DeltaV Simulation Cloud, users are freed from all of those costly access and security maintenance concerns of the on-premise system. So installation, setup, access, these all come standard with the solution. So this means no physical infrastructure costs, no engineering design and build, no need to manage virtual machines or physical workstations. No need to worry about power consumption or hardware end of life strategies, which are kind of an unseen cost of the total ownership for on premise systems. As your hosting provider, Emerson takes care of all of these aspects for you, which is a tremendous advantage when compared to an on premise system. And also, in contrast to on prem systems, licensing, DeltaV hotfixes, and Guardian support are included as part of the package. So you have to, no more worrying about the licensing aspects of DeltaV. Leave that up to Emerson. You simply order the solution, we set it up and make it ready for you. We've gone to great lengths to make DeltaV Simulation Cloud a turnkey solution, alleviating the complexities of the traditional on-premise ownership concerns. So again, you simply order it from a set of capabilities, and our team will work with you to ensure we architect and maintain that solution to your expectations. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, this solution grows as your business needs grow. It's scalable to fit your needs now and expand as your needs expand in the future. So whether it's more users, more control capacity, or expanded simulation capabilities, we've got you covered.
So, as you mentioned there, Chris, scalability is, obviously a major consideration, when opting for, a cloud-based technology of any kind. But what if a user doesn't think they're going to need to scale their system? Say, for example, if they have a very targeted engineering and training need that could be addressed by a smaller on-premises system. In that kind of case, is DeltaV Simulation Cloud something someone in that position should still consider? And if so, why?
To start with, DeltaV Simulation Cloud is structured around three offerings or categories of offerings. There's DeltaV Simulate, DeltaV Simulate with Mimic, and the standalone. All are offered as 1 year subscriptions. So the first two of those offerings are designed to be scalable, and they can accommodate from anywhere up to 15,000 DSTs or device signal tags and up to 16 concurrent users. The last offering, DeltaV Simulation Cloud Standalone, provides exactly the type of solution for customers seeking a smaller system, but with the full DeltaV Simulate and Simulate with Mimic capabilities, just in a smaller environment and at our lowest cost. This system allows for one concurrent user and up to 1,000 DSTs. So smaller in size, but no less capable, perfect for, again, those targeted smaller engineering and training needs.
Thanks for clarifying that, Chris. So you noted there, security is a major factor when choosing a cloud-based technology, which is a big reason why cloud-based automation technologies are gaining acceptance because they offload many of the security considerations from on-site IT staff to the cloud technology provider. But of course, even with that, there are still security risks with these technologies that in-house IT and operations technology staff still typically need to address. So, given that, what can you tell us about the security of DeltaV Simulation Cloud?
As a hosting provider, Emerson has gone to great lengths to ensure DeltaV Simulation Cloud is a secure solution capable of defending itself against cyber attacks. And this is ensured by our hosting facility's ISO 27001 security certificate. So, a little bit about 27001. It's a comprehensive cybersecurity certification. It's renewed annually and ensures protection by a set of user access, defense in depth policies and procedures, as well as monitoring and response requirements. And in an effort to, maintain our tight security stance, obviously, I can't discuss the details of our protection mechanisms in detail, but I can say that we protect using the best in both electronic and physical control methods to ensure the highest standards of security.
So, Chris, we've covered a lot of ground here today about DeltaV Simulation Cloud. So, before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to add?
You bet. For more information on DeltaV Simulation Cloud, see our website. The easiest way to find it is simply to do a search in your favorite search engine for DeltaV Simulation Cloud. That'll take you to our landing page where you can find out more information on the solution and browse our data sheet, which contains even more details about the solution itself. And as always, with any Emerson product or service, you can reach out to your local Emerson sales rep for things like pricing, availability, or any other questions you may have.
Well, thank you for joining me for this podcast, Chris. And thanks, of course, to all of our listeners. And please keep watching this space for more installments of Automation World Get Your Questions Answered. And remember, you can find us online at automationworld.com to stay on top of the latest industrial automation technology insights, trends, and news.